All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started now. Certainly want to thank all of you fine folks for taking the time out of your Friday to attend this webinar. Uh, Today's webinar really focuses on providing you with a very high level into Horos, what we're trying to do here at the Horos project in terms of making available a premier free open source medical image viewer. Want to touch base on a number of different topics. Talk a little bit about the update we have scheduled for this coming Monday. Today's the 24th. That would make Monday the 27th. That update addresses some outstanding bugs that the community has made us aware of. And open up after the webinar, which will only last probably 10 or 15 minutes, an opportunity for questions that you may or may not have regarding Horos. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Most importantly, we should talk about Horos and what it is and how it got started. Horos is a fork, and for those of you who don't know open source terminology, a fork is a derivation, follow a different path, if you will, of an open source project that exists. In this case, Osirix 5.9 was an open source project that recently has undergone a number of changes. It's up to actually Osirix 6.5 now. Osirix has undergone a number of changes that the community who had embraced Osirix is frustrated with. So we've made an effort recently to fork Osirix, and that is what Horos is. And the things that we've done with it are to make it 64-bit. So we've taken the Osirix 5.9 source code, we've made it 64-bit, which enables the ability to look at large multi-slice data sets. We've removed a lot of the nag screens that had been implemented in the free version of Osirix, which is now referred to as Osirix Lite. So that what we used to refer to in the community as the open source version of Osirix is now Osirix Lite, and has a number of nag screens and a number of modifications to the application that have made it less desirable for clinicians to use, for example, in sharing images with patients. By making it 64-bit, we've made it able to evaluate or open access studies that are greater than 500 images. We've fixed issues with DICOM editing that have been restricted. And we've made the source code of Horos. So Horos is an open source project. Again, it's a fork of the Osirix application. We've made that source code available under the GPL open source license, which is it's kind of the most open source license available. That is different than Osirix, which is licensed under the LGPL license. And we'll talk more about all of this, of course, during this webinar. It's, I think a lot of people often ask, what's your motivation behind this? Who are you? Who are you that are making Horos available? The Horos project is really a community of people who make Horos available, who contribute to it, who educate others on it. A great example of this is a university overseas that is using Horos to teach students. I mean, this is, the essence of open source is this software application being used in the world by anyone, anywhere, to educate students, to educate patients, to evaluate medical imaging. It's being used anywhere. Purview is simply a sponsor of the Horos project. The Horos is not an integral component, a commercial component of our business. It is simply a tool. Horos is a tool to Purview that we make available to our customers. Purview is at its essence a medical image management company. We've built tools in the cloud that exist on premise in healthcare organizations, small and large, to manage medical imaging. And over the past 10 years, we've built a business around supporting Osirix. We actually support something like 1,000 workstations or more globally across 4 continents, 1,000 Osirix workstations. And as these changes over the past several years have occurred to Osirix, making it more restricted, and how it can be used, we've made a strategic decision here at Purview to be one of the sponsors of the Horos project. It is critically important to us that OSIRIX lives on in a way that's meaningful to its end users, in a way that's not restrictive, in a way that empowers physicians, educators, researchers, at their desktop, at their computer with medical imaging. Open source plays a huge role in that empowerment, and because of that, we've placed a huge emphasis on Horos moving forward as something that we sponsor here at Purview. And I want to, with that, we have some intentions that come alongside being a sponsor, right? We have some responsibilities, we have some things we want to do, achieve, some things we want to achieve. Most importantly, we want to organize resources, and that might mean that we actually hire resources. That might mean that we, communicate needs that the Horos project has. That might mean that our marketing organization helps us with that around developing the Horos application and different plugins that, again, will empower educators, clinicians, et cetera, using the Horos application. We want to be the commercial entity to continue to provide that open source version of OSIRIX. It's clear to me, and I've been working with OSIRIX for over 10 years, it's clear to me that Pixmio, the guys who founded and started and did a wonderful, an incredible job building an open source medical image viewer, it's clear to me that their intentions have changed and that they're becoming a more commercially centered organization. And that's okay. Look, I'm not out there to grind my axe, nor is Purview, the company, against this. We simply are looking, most importantly, at ways to continue the open source version, if you will, of this great medical image viewer. I want to announce our newest team member, Fauzi Polpetta, who lives in Brazil, is working with us to make Horos even better. He really enables us to remain responsive to the issues that are brought to our attention by the community. As many of you may be aware who are actively engaged in our bug tracking platform, we are receiving bugs and feedback from the community on a regular basis, and Fauzi has just done a phenomenal job at making sure that those bugs don't go left unattended, but are responsive. He ensures that we're responsive to those bug alerts, requests, those issues that are brought to our attention, and is doing just a wonderful job at knocking them out. We are up to version 1.0.4, and there are release notes alongside each of those versions that we've made available. 1.0.4 is the latest release. You should make sure that you're using the latest release of Horos. And that version has addressed, I think we probably addressed somewhere over a dozen bugs since the Horos application was released about 60 days ago. We have a new release coming out, 1.0.5, on Monday that Fauzi's currently working on along with other community members. And that version will address some additional bugs. And we can dig in a little bit on what those issues are that have recently been addressed. Fixed the 3D MPR views, the geometry that was being used in those views. We've addressed custom DICOM annotations, compression of DICOM files and how they're handled. And we've made some enhancements to plugins and how they'll be loaded in the future and how they are loaded today. Our next release, again, this is 1.0.5 that comes out on Monday, will address JPEG LS compression and decompression, on-the-fly switching of 3D curved MPR interpolation, and a button to reset the view of the study browser. So when your study browser gets a little, when it becomes inconsistent, there will be a button to simply reset that, which should be a great advantage to many of those who use the Horos application. And that'll be a new feature that we're implementing. I like to talk, and again, this is a casual webinar, an opportunity for us to educate the community on what we're up to. It's an opportunity for the community to participate, so to ask questions of what we're doing, what our intent is. I like to talk a little bit about our vision, remind people what our vision is here at the Horos Project and at Purview, because we share a common vision. We want to make sure that Horos is the best open source medical imaging software available on Earth. That's a big, bold statement, and at Purview, we like big, bold statements, and we think it's critically important to have access to be able to use an open source tool in a way that's meaningful. And what makes it meaningful is for it to be the best in its class. And that is something that Osirix had achieved many years ago when they made Osirix and made it available in the open source community. And that is something that we intend to carry forward. The best medical imaging software available on Earth as open source. Horos is a product of expert community collaboration. It means that as we carry Osirix forward, as we carry Horos forward as the open source version of Osirix, if you will, we want to ensure that it is positioned in a way that allows people around the world to participate in its development, in its growth. And that means a lot of things. It means making sure that the code is well documented, that the code is accessible to developers, that we provide the right tools and community engagement mechanisms so that people can participate in its development. And we actively encourage others to provide ideas, code, and suggestions. Purview, again, is a sponsor of the Horos Project. We are looking for other individuals and organizations to participate in the development of Horos. Purview has taken the first step in engaging an individual to really be the, I won't call it the owner, but call it an ombudsman of the code, somebody who can be responsible for it, who can make sure that the work that's being done is responsible and thoughtful. So our vision, we want to make Horos the best open source medical imaging software available on Earth, a product of expert community collaboration, and we actively encourage others to provide ideas, code, and suggestions. And that is a very succinct vision that we intend to take Horos forward with. And again, these meetups, these weekly meetups, are a casual opportunity for all of us to get together, to ask questions, to raise issues, to make announcements. So at this juncture, I'd like to engage those who are attending to ask those questions, see if there's anything that we can help answer as it relates to Horos. You can do that with the GoToWebinar control panel. We are looking for maybe a better solution for these more casual meetups. We've tried Google Groups, and that is just awesomely confusing, even for software developers. So we're going to see if we can identify something that might be a little more casual and face-to-face. But in the interim, we'd encourage you to ask questions using the GoToWebinar control panel. I'll go ahead and open up the GoToWebinar control panel and take a look at the questions and see if I can get any of those questions answered. And in the meantime, while I'm waiting for those questions to be answered, what I'd like to do is I'll talk a little bit about some of the past questions that we've received. One of those is around FDA approval. So in the past webinar sessions, we've had some questions about how you can use Horos in a practice where FDA approval is necessary or other types of approval is necessary, and when it's not. And I'd certainly like to talk a little bit about that. Most people, and I've had certainly numerous conversations, and I can't necessarily be your legal counsel. I can't be your legal counsel. But what I can do is tell you that FDA approval is something that's necessary for companies that sell medical devices. We aren't selling Horos. We're making it available for free. FDA approval in some organizations is necessary and a requirement. If you're Joint Commission certified or accredited in the United States, it requires that you use FDA-approved software. But in many cases, there are clinicians using Horos or Osirix in their practice of medicine daily, both in the United States and abroad. So this is one of those fuzzy areas that really requires consultation with your own resources, your lawyers, your folks who manage accreditation and accountability. And so we don't have a perfect answer for you, but we can at least give you some details around the edges, so to speak. I do have a couple of questions. When will we be able to do upper airway visualization? I know this is a request that a feature request that's come through, and from a few different people. Surprisingly, it is something that that is part of our issue tracking system. So that feature request has been parked in our issue tracking system, and we certainly are paying attention to it. We are looking for, or we're considering what it would take to build that functionality into the application. It's certainly a conversation that folks in the Horos community are having. And Jim, I don't have a specific target date for you, but I can assure you that there are some folks paying attention to it, to that request. I have another question here from John. How do I make my plugins that I created for Osirix with Horos? And does Horos maintain a list of plugins somewhere? Today, what we've observed is that most plugins for Osirix work just fine with Horos. So we have some experience with the disk publishing plugin, with the tools that allow you to ingest JPEG images, and those have all worked well with Horos, just wonderfully well. But we are in the process of beginning to evaluate all of the plugins. Certainly there are more plugins than are what's listed in the Osirix application itself. We're going to begin making folks aware of those plugins or of Horos, and then validating those plugins and publishing a list of validated plugins on the Horos website. Great question, and certainly something that we are paying attention to. We are also looking at ways to make sure that there is a thoughtful, there are thoughtful underpinnings in the Horos application to support future application development and plugin development, and I think that those will all be a benefit to the community. We have had some questions regarding documentation and where a user manual might be found. We are in the process of helping to organize work around the user's manual for the open source application for Horos. Horos is obviously very similar to Osirix. Documentation that exists for Osirix should be very helpful in navigating Horos today. There are a number of YouTube videos out there for performing certain functions in Osirix that should work well in Horos as well. But we are working on organizing content that we have, that we've worked on creating in the past, and making that available to the community. If there is someone who might be available to assist in creating and coordinating the availability of that content, we would certainly appreciate participation in that effort. Another question from John. Do I have an issue if I use Horos, which is not FDA approved, to consult with my patients to view their own images? And I think that's a great question. If you're simply sharing images with Horos with patients, this is not a conflict with, or this does not require us using software with FDA approval. The way that I've really honed in on when FDA approval is required, again, is if we're in an organization that has a specific requirement for FDA approval, which might be a Joint Commission accredited facility or a government healthcare organization like the Veterans Affairs Health Administration, for example. Those entities require FDA approved software. That's simply a requirement that they have. Private practice radiology, orthopedics, all sorts of different ologies that use medical imaging. their legal counsel can advise one way or another, obviously, but there it's not so clear. And if you're simply sharing images with patients, this is not a diagnostic interpretation. This is an opportunity for collaboration. Think of it as a sheet of film that came off out of your envelope, right? With your MRI images. This is not. There is no requirement here for FDA approval. Something that's come up in conversation, as well as just now a question from John, and is something that we're fairly well versed in discussing. We are actively engaged in translating Horos to make sure that it's available in different languages. There have been some community members who have engaged with us to begin the process of translating using a web service called Transifex, which allows you to take the localization files, the string files from our source code, and translate them into other languages. And I know that's something that's on our radar, and there is a team of folks who are actively engaged in translating the string files from our source code. And that's really exciting. I mean, I think we lose sight of, we in the United States, I think sometimes we're a little arrogant in thinking that everybody speaks English, and that's obviously not true. It's critically important to make sure that these applications, especially open source applications, which have global visibility, are made available in different languages. And it's really exciting that folks in the community have really stepped up and are excited about participating in the translation. There are hundreds of strings that need to be translated, so this is not a small task, and one that we welcome outside participation in. I think it's also important to highlight that participation in an open source project does not have to be writing code. I think that's I think people get hung up in, oh, well, I can't participate because I'm not a software developer. And I would encourage you to think outside of the box. I know that some of the participants who are on this call today are software developers. I know that one of them in particular is a doctor who I've actually spoken with on the phone before. He had some great ideas regarding how to make Horos even better for certain healthcare providers via a feature request. All of this contribution, whether it be translating languages, contributing feature requests, letting us know about bugs. I mean, gosh, if you go to a users group meeting that you might have and tell the Horos story, or you refer Horos to a doctor that you work with, a colleague, that is contribution. It's meaningful. It allows Horos to continue to grow and become a known quantity. We have had phenomenal success with Horos to date. There have been thousands of downloads of the Horos software application. There have been dozens of issues reported using our bug tracking software. And I would say even more instances of communication, praise, and some concern. So I think all of that is just wonderful. And we certainly make ourselves available to participate in that dialogue. Looks like that's it for questions. If there are no more questions, I will let you all get back to your Friday. We'll look forward to a new release early next week. It's currently scheduled for Monday. And if there are questions you'd like to ask us that might not be appropriate for this webinar, or you'd simply like to reach out via email, you can do so. I've put our email address here up on the screen, horos@horosproject.org. If you have issues that you want to document, and again, that's a great way to participate in this project, in this open source project, horosproject.org/mantis, M-A-N-T-I-S, BT. That is our issue tracker. It is also an open source software application. And our website, horosproject.org. We'll let you get back to your Friday now. We hope you have a good weekend, and we look forward to your downloading 1.0.5 early next week, currently scheduled for Monday. Take care. Bye.